Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Thursday, the 18th of January, I think. It's so bloody cold in Alberta that I'm having trouble keeping track, and we're having trouble with my car still. So hopefully today will be the day when we'll get it all figured out. But if not, we carry on, right? We don't quit. We keep on moving. I have been reading. One of the things I read from my daily office when I do my prayers and everything is I take time to read about 10 minutes, just a snippet to keep my brain engaged and get me fired up for the morning and for the work of the day. And I've been reading for some time this book by John Shelby Spong, Jesus for the Non-Religious. Now, I know there are lots of people who think he was heretical. He has since deceased, and I think that's a shame because he really brought a lot of interesting ideas to the world. And he was a bishop in the the Episcopal Church in the United States. And I think that if we paid close attention to what he had to say, we might learn a thing or two, not just about Christianity and faith, but about what it is to be a Christian, what it is to be a priest. And Rob and I actually heard him speak at the United Church, at one of the United Churches in London in 2004. Yeah, November 9th, 2004, because it's the night Rob proposed. So it's kind of stuck in my head. We went into the church for an incredible lecture by John Shelby Spong. Came out, it had not been snowing, and we came out. The world looked like the inside of a snow globe. It was beautiful. We went to a little diner for some pierogies and some supper, and then Rob dropped me off at home and he proposed. It was a great evening. So John Shelby Spong holds a special spot in my heart. But I know he doesn't for everybody. One of the things, though, that he's really been helping me grapple with through this read is he's sort of dissecting, not the right word, but still the one I can think of right now. He's sort of walking through the whole sense of what is our faith and where does it come from, and who was Jesus, and what about the mythical parts of Jesus, the things. When I say mythical, I don't mean that Jesus was a myth, but I'm talking about those things that became so blown up, those legendary things. And were they actually that big? Were they like that? I really do encourage you to read some of his work and make up your own mind. But one of the great things about John Shelby Spong is he makes statements and he puts forward arguments that make me think. I don't always agree with them, like quite often I'm like, I think he's, full of horse pucky. However, there are things that make me think. And isn't that the point of literature? Isn't that the point of reading and learning, to make us think differently, to think beyond, to widen our horizons? And one of the things I was reading about this morning, he was talking about the evolution of humankind and where we have come from. And somebody might want to argue with me that, we just were born, the Adam and Eve story in 7 days and all that stuff. And I'm just not going to go there. I am not, that's not my theology. I do believe in evolution. I do believe, watching simply things like climate change, that things do evolve and change. And we can't ignore that. So, I'm a believer that we did have cavemen and dinosaurs and things like that. I'm also a believer that we did evolve and came to a sense at one point there were persons, Homo sapiens. I'm not sure, Homo erectus. I'm not sure what they were. I can't remember what they're called. Not my anthropology, not my thing. But there were people who walked around the earth and they ate things and they hunted and they survived, and then they eventually developed relationships. Obviously, the world they continued to propagate, but at some point, a sense of self-consciousness kicked in. How it evolved, I have no idea. One of those questions I can't wait to sit at God's feet and say, so fill me in on all the details. What a great day that will be. But in the meantime, I do believe that we evolved and self-consciousness became a thing. And we began at some point to recognize that our world is not just about us, that there's more to our world than just us, and the implications that happen around us, the effects they have on us. At some point, people developed, he talks about at some point, people in their self-consciousness developed anxiety, a sense that, oh dear, what if this, like the big questions, what if this is all there is? What if I can't stop myself from being eaten by a lion or a mountain lion? What if I can't survive the rains? What if I, you know, all those questions about my own society or my own sense of being able to continue. And that anxiety, that those worries, those brand new, I've never thought like this before, where does this go, led to the need for a release for those anxieties or relief from the anxieties. And hence our greater development of understanding a, a, um, a deity, God. Now, I'm not sure. I'm struggling a little bit with what he's talking about here, and I'm just getting to the crux of this of his thesis here at the end of the book. But it made me really think about that, the sense of our self consciousness, and then our recognition of anxiety that we have within us, and then our need to reach out beyond ourselves to relieve that anxiety, or to even just release the anxiety. It's important. When we are anxious, when I'm anxious, I do this whole body scan thing. I think, okay, like, okay, what's wrong with me? Sometimes I start with my head, sometimes I start with my toes, but usually works itself out to be my stomach or my chest, like that, my abdomen, my midsection, where something is going wrong, like my neck and my spine are getting tight, um, where I realizing my stomach is upset, or I've got, that a friend of mine, Alex, when Alex was a teenager, I used to tell him he had guilt guts because there was something he said or did or didn't say and didn't do that he should or shouldn't have, and that when his body was dealing with that anxiety around that mistake. So when we develop the sense of this, what this anxiety is, we recognize then our self-consciousness recognizes we need an outlet for it. We need something to do with that anxiety. And for many, many, many people, myself included, my outlet, my release is to turn to one who is outside of me. I know that I cannot stop all the anxieties of my life. I cannot fix every problem all by myself. However, I can turn to another who can. My car, I cannot fix my car. My husband can only go so far in fixing the car. We need an expert. So we turn to someone else. And when I turn over the keys, I let go of the anxiety. Now my car is in good hands. The anxiety may come back when they hand me the keys with the bill, but that's a whole other story. But the idea being that when we let go of our anxieties, when we place it in someone else's hands, in the hands of the master, of the expert, we can relax. And is that not, for those of us who believe in God, is that not what we do? Now, we do it not just for anxieties, but we do it with joy and hope and glory when we give thanks to God. But really, in those moments when we're the most self conscious and aware doing that body scan or however we work it out, that we are in over our heads. We can't do this by ourselves. We turn to God and recognize that we don't have to do this by ourselves. There is one who is greater than we are, who is willing and able to receive our anxieties, those things that cause us to be negatively self-conscious, and we can put them in God's hands and say, help. And the more often we do that, the more we realize God does help. Even if it's simply to let go of our anxiety for a little while, whatever it is that's bothering us, so that when the time comes for us to pick that back up, that situation back up, we have a better way of dealing with it. We have a clearer focus. We have a new vision. We can shuck away the crap that surrounded it and look at what the actual concern or the problem really is. Sometimes God simply says, let me hang on to it forever. This is not something you need to worry about. And then we have the gift of the peace of knowing, of that peace that passes all understanding. But indeed, sometimes God says, yes, I'm only going to hold it for a little while because this is indeed yours to work with. But God gives it back to us in such a way that our anxieties can fall away. We have evolved from beings that were not able to think beyond ourselves to beings that are able to think and realize all that is out there beyond us. And just think, if that's where we've come so far by God's grace, where might God be leading us with even greater awareness when we become more aware of other people and more aware of what's happening in other parts of our world, more aware of what's happening in other parts of our universe? How great is the magnitude of the God who comes to us in such a personal form in Jesus to receive from us our worries and our cares and our joys, and says to us, continue to evolve, continue to be in relationship with those beings and those things that you didn't know you could be in relationship with before. Can you just imagine what our world might be like when we continue to evolve and become more of the beings that we were created to be in the first place billions of years ago? Wow, wouldn't that be amazing? Can you imagine? Nothing. Still, Steven Spielberg's got nothing on this. This is the divine creator, the divine director himself or herself, the director's self, saying to us, open your eyes and your heart, allow yourself to experience, and the world will get bigger and bigger. Pretty amazing, isn't it? I'm glad that I get to participate in this great experiment that God has called life. How about you? Have a great day. God bless. And I'll see you again tomorrow for Feel Good Friday, Church at Home with Rachel.